Mormonism with the Murph, where Larry Singh explores church history and the church's truth claims. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This could be a shorter video. I'm just be giving a reaction and what did I think of the movie Heretic, starring Hugh Grant, about two sister missionaries that get trapped in his home. It is more of a psychological thriller, and this will be giving away some spoilers of the movie. So if you've not seen the movie, you don't want to hear any spoilers, then maybe don't watch this. So I'll be talking about what I think of the acting, what did I think of the story and the plot line, what I think about things it said about Mormonism and religion, and what I think were some of the messages that the writer of the movie was trying to give across as well. And I'll also include what my wife's reaction as well, because we took different things from the movie. I first off want to say I thought the movie, the acting was really, really good. Particularly Hugh Grant, I thought was brilliant in his role. And I also thought the two sister missionaries were good as well. And in general, I think for it being a thriller, I thought it was decent. The first half of the movie certainly went pretty much as I anticipated. I was not surprised by anything in the first half of the movie. The second half of the movie really did surprise me because I didn't even watch a trailer or knew much about the film before I went to watch it. So the movie opens up with a scene of sister missionaries. They're talking on a bench and they're having a very explicit conversation about porn and condoms, and one of the sister missionaries watching a porn video and how that was like a testimony strengthening experience for her because she could see that the person always looked lifeless, you know, as they were being filmed. And I was just like, what? Like, no, don't get me wrong. I've served a mission. I've had mission companions. Missionaries do sometimes talk about maybe inappropriate things, girls, sex. I'm imagine it could even be the case with sister missionaries. However, I have never had a conversation with one of my companions, nor them with me, that was that explicit as they had. So I thought it was a wee bit over the top. But I thought that was a message they were trying to put across, that like, oh, missionaries, you know, they are secretly having conversations about porn and sex, which again might sometimes happen, but it was a bit over the top. I didn't like the scene when her skirt was pulled down and they were making fun of magic underwear, and there was lots of references to magic underwear throughout the movie that I thought was a little bit too much and unnecessary. That was funny. One of the sister missionaries, I think it was Sister Paxton, she had more blondie or fair hair and glasses. She looked and reminded me so much of a sister from my mission who was in one of my zones whenever I was zone leader. So I thought that was quite funny. She did come across very naive, very like enthusiastic. It was quite funny. So they are going about their missionary work, taking their bikes. They go visit Hugh Grant, who I assume must be a referral. Yeah, he's not a member. And they go to his house to go try to teach him a lesson. Now there's a storm happening. I think it goes from like a rainstorm to like a snowstorm, I think, as well. But it was quite funny because the sister missionary, Sister Paxton, I think her name was, with the glasses, she just had this kind of like grainy fire because she hadn't baptized someone. And it reminded me a little bit like what I was like at the beginning of my mission. Like I would just want to like, you know, I would just want to like just come out with the first lesson at the doorstep with people. And Hugh Grant was a bit like, do you not want to come in? And then they were like, oh no, we need to have another woman present if we're to come in, which they were accurate about that with mission rules. It was the same on my mission. If two elders, if you're going to go into the home with a sister, you had to have either another woman or another adult present. But he lured them in saying, oh, my wife's in, she's making a pie, come on in. And it starts off well. He comes across very curious about the church, about religion. He knows about the Book of Mormon, and they're having a conversation. He's asking questions. You know, it starts to get a little bit creepy. You know, the power goes out, so the lights dim. He starts asking more personal questions. He brings up the topic of polygamy, which of course made them uncomfortable. And he was insinuating that, you know, he thinks that the reason for polygamy in the church was that Joseph wanted to justify having affairs, which is an understandable criticism. And you could see the sisters were getting uncomfortable. And I kind of felt like one of the things the writer was trying to imply was that like the sister missionaries didn't know much about their religion or their history. And that being something to like missionaries in general, that they go out very naive and a bit indoctrinated, which there could be a little bit of fairness to that criticism, because I remember getting criticized about the prophet having multiple wives. by a couple of people, and I didn't know about Joe Smith's polygamy. And I think they were also trying to make it seem like the missionaries were also sort of like doubting whether or not the church was true. So really trying to paint them as they're very naive, simplistic, and may not even know that the church is true. Now, whoever did write the script certainly did know quite a bit about Mormonism and missions and mission rules as well. Now, as the sisters were getting uncomfortable, they were like, something's not right here. We need to leave. This is creepy. They were insisting, right? We want to meet your wife. Where is your wife? And he says, okay, she's in this room here. You can come in and meet her. They try to leave, but they're locked in. And because of the storm, well, they think it's because of the storm, they don't have any signal. So they can't text or call for help. And that's when things get a bit strange. They come into this big library room. They begin to realize that they're trapped. They can't get out, except there's two doors that they can go through. And then Hugh Grant sort of lays out this presentation, sort of deconstructing religion, that all religious faiths and traditions and their sacred texts are just like iterations or remixes of the previous one. And he sort of alluded to it similar with like movies or with board games as well, or even the story of Jesus being like the Son of God, dying and resurrecting, comparing it to previous religions as well. And I think I felt like one of the things they were trying to emphasize was that really trying to deconstruct religion, that it's all iterations or remixes of what is previous, and that he came across very articulate, very well read, very knowledgeable, and that the sisters were naive and didn't know much about their faith. So the sisters are trapped. They choose one of the doors to go down to, and they're in like this creepy basement. And this is when things get weird. Up until this point, I was like, okay, I'm not surprised by what's going on. There's this creepy lady dressed in like white robes, and she's referred to as the prophetess, and she ends up eating the blueberry pie and dying. And then Hugh Grant says she's gonna come back to life. A resurrection's gonna happen. Then at some point, the doorbell rings, and one of the elders comes to the door. He's referenced throughout the movie, but he looks kind of older and he never has a companion. But he's trying to find the sisters. And I just thought Hugh Grant was brilliant playing his role, very smooth, very calm. He seemed very harmless throughout the movie, even though he's a proper psychopath. But you're still kind of wondering, like, what is he trying to do? Like, what is his motive? And then the sisters, they run up to the door, trying to look through, trying to scream for help. And then when they come back, the old lady, the prophetess, her head is moved, and they're like, one of the sisters like, her head was not in that position when we came down. And then the other sister was like, yeah, it was. Come on, it's fine. And I think they're trying to burn something to get out, try to start a fire. And then, the old lady gets up and you're like, oh, what the frig? And that's whenever I turned my wife, I was like, oh my gosh. And basically, he's just trying to imply like a resurrection occurred and she was in the afterlife and all those sorts of things. Later on in the movie, as they're trying to get out, you really see Hugh Grant's true colors. He's a dangerous man, slits one of the sisters by the throat. And then the other one, she kind of works out what's happened. She realized that it wasn't a miracle with the prophetess, that he would have switched the bodies, and he wanted it to seem that way. And it seemed like that was another message they're trying to get across, is that like miracles aren't real, but it's just like magic tricks or illusions, or people are gullible. And basically that she caught on to the whole time what he was doing. She went down into like this basement, or like these catacombs within his house, lots of creepy rooms, and then she finds a room with cages of women who are like cold and in awful condition. And then she realizes that, oh, this is what he's trying to present, that the only real religion is control, and almost trying to imply that that's what all religions are about. It's men trying to control systems of control, controlling their followers and manipulating them for their own endeavors. I felt like that was a message it was trying to put across. And then at the end of the movie, like, yeah, she stabs Hugh Grant, but then she gets stabbed, and it looks like the sister missionary is gonna die. And then they have a conversation about like, pray for me, where Hugh Grant is like, pray for me, sister, and she was like, studies show that prayer doesn't work, but it's nice to pray for others. So it almost seemed like that seemed like another message the writer's trying to give across, that miracles aren't real, prayer doesn't work. So it almost seemed like it was Like, was that the underlying intention, to just try to deconstruct religion and faith? That was kind of what I took from it, and I didn't overly like that intention or those underlying themes. So almost trying to show that like the missionaries were doubting their testimonies and that all religions are about control. But interesting, on the flip side, my wife sort of took something different from it. Although she sort of agreed that it seemed like the movie was trying to portray some of those messages, she also thought it's like they're trying to portray Hugh Grant or Mr. Reed as this very smooth, very nice, very articulate man, and this critic who's very knowledgeable, who's deconstructing religion, deconstructing their faith, but then also presenting that like if you go too far, you can become a psychopath, which is basically what he was, like just wanting to abuse and control and kill people, almost implying that people who are super critical of religion and fully deconstruct might go too far, like Mr. Reed, which was something that I didn't actually take from it, but I thought that was interesting. And then at the very end of the movie, because it seems like her companion has died, and Hugh Grant is about to stab Sister Paxton, but then seems like almost miraculously, her companion comes back to life, kills Hugh Grant, and then she collapses, she dies. And that almost seemed like, was that meant to almost be like a bit of a miracle? And then Sister Paxton, she left, she escaped. So it almost seemed like there was a miraculous happy ending. But then it was confusing because she also seemed to be doubting that prayer worked. And then throughout the movie, Sister Paxton talked about wanting to return as a butterfly. And then at the very end, a butterfly is on her. I don't know if that's meant to represent her companion. But then we as Latter-day Saints don't believe in reincarnation, so I don't fully understand that part of the movie. Overall, I thought Hugh Grant was brilliant. I thought the Sister Missionary were good actors as well. I thought the movie was decent. I thought it was a bit creepy and disturbing in parts, and I do enjoy a good thriller and horror movie. I didn't overly like the messages it was trying to put across, and I think it would be more appealing to people who aren't believers in religion or ex-Mormons. But honestly, it wasn't a bad movie. Would I watch it again? Maybe. It was definitely worth watching, and it was definitely the second half of the movie not what I expected. But that's my thoughts. Tell me what you think of the movie in the comments. See you next time. Bye-bye. Thanks everyone for watching this episode. If you've enjoyed it, please give it a like, share it with others who might benefit, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future content. You can also listen to these episodes on podcast form on Anchor or Spotify, and you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Check out my website for more content, personal blog, and more. And if you care to donate to support me, you can via my PayPal or Patreon, or through the website. And you can also give donations via YouTube through Super Chats. Thanks for watching Mormonism with the Murph. Take care. Bye-bye.